You want to get your NVIDIA GPUs? Well, you might be getting them from Intel? And Intel looks to buy a company that might shake up the CPU market, and then all of the major E3 announcements that happened over the weekend. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet, and I just want to thank everybody who dealt with the lack of episodes of hot news last week. It was probably the craziest week that I've had in quite some time, just from my son's medical stuff to things that we need to do before we were moving. Everything just kind of coalesced into one gigantic flurry of a week where I was unable to get to anything. So thank you for sticking with us. We're gonna have full episodes this week and next week, and then I will see where we go from there. So let's get into the first top story of the day, talking about NVIDIA GPUs potentially being made by Intel. This is coming out as a report that is saying that NVIDIA and Intel are in talks so that Intel can use its fabrication facilities to produce NVIDIA's GPUs, especially with Samsung and TSMC and all of the other companies struggling to keep up with production. These companies are looking elsewhere in order to get their fabrication done. Intel has already said, especially with their new CEO, that they're looking into opportunities such as this to use their fabs to produce other people's chips, and NVIDIA might be one of their very first customers. The report from Moore's Law is dead, saying NVIDIA isn't just going to roll over. If TSMC starts dominating too hard, referring to Apple and AMD both using TSMC for the production, they're going to see what they can do to team up with Intel and vice versa. It's not just AMD or TSMC, it's also Apple. These companies are preparing for major wars with these architectures and finding allies if one of them gets too powerful. However, just to dampen that expectation for a little second, Ian Cutress over from AnonTech saying, I assume everyone is talking to Intel. Sign an NDA, get some insight into roadmap and what's going on. Getting PDKs and actually designing something is probably a few months out still. So it seems like Intel has fabrication possibilities. These companies want that, and they're just gonna have to fight over what it is. RTX 3080 brought to you by Intel, or RTX 4080 brought to you by Intel. All I know is that our GPUs are better with Intel inside. But inside Intel's own CPUs, they're going to be running something that we didn't quite see coming from them. The Sapphire Rapids Xeon chips are looking to have HBM2 stacked on into the chip itself. HBM2 being a fast memory that we've been finding on things such as AMD's previous Vega generation of graphics cards, but now Intel potentially putting that on their actual CPU for fast access to memory, but still also having access to DDR5 on the motherboard that they're going to be using. We'll have to see how this works out when Sapphire Rapids is actually announced and what performance upgrades and benefits it can bring, but it's an exciting time where Intel's shaking those things up in order to make their architecture even better so that AMD doesn't keep taking market share from them. But Colorful wants you to take up market share in your mind with remembering the good old days of GPUs back in whenever you could get them, with them launching the world's first GPU history museum over in Shenzhen, China, with NVIDIA and Colorful partnering up to create this GPU to go from both the birth of NVIDIA with the GeForce 256 all the way up until the modern era, which obviously we all know doesn't exist because there are no real cards out there. But in case you can make it over there, you might be wanting to check out the GPU museum that's now open. And NVIDIA wants to make the RTX 2060 a relic of the past because there were reports coming out that they had to up production of their previous generation of chips in order to keep up with demand, especially since the RTX 30 series wasn't actually being sold because they're all out of stock everywhere. Anyways, now it looks like they're going to be cutting back on that supply. This is a report coming out from IT Home saying that NVIDIA is finally ready to scale down from the previous generation of cards. And for anybody who's wondering, oh, but why were they producing old cards when they could produce new cards? Well, new cards are produced on Samsung, old cards are produced on TSMC, so they're not taking up the same fabrication space. The only thing that they could possibly be taking up are things like memory chips and other little microcontrollers that they put on the board. If they're starting to see a supply bottleneck with those parts, they might now be starting to shift that over to the 30 series, but it likely wasn't taking up too much of NVIDIA's brain space to produce up all the RTX 20 series cards. And in a piece of news that should have gone a little bit earlier, let's talk about Intel and their potential takeover of SiFive. This makes way more sense when talking about Intel's business strategies with NVIDIA. Why did I put it here? I don't know. Anyways, there's new reports coming out from Reuters and Bloomberg stating that Intel is in talks with SiFive to purchase them and integrate the RISC-V architecture into whatever Intel might have coming up. This is a pretty big deal, especially as ARM is looking to get bought out from NVIDIA, RISC-V being a somewhat alternative to ARM architecture. This would make it so that Intel has a different option and doesn't have to depend on NVIDIA's monopoly in order to create all of these good advancements that RISC-V is bringing to the table. But now I'm going to bring something up to the table to you. You're getting a sweeping, serving helping of the CryptoStonks update. Bitcoin up over the weekend, up to 9.75%, almost hitting 39,000 as I'm talking about. Ethereum also having a good weekend, up 5% to almost $2,500, and Dogecoin up 4% to be right around 32 cents. Talking about the meme stonks, GameStop closing up on Friday, 5.8% to 233. AMC up 15% to 49.40. I keep seeing tweets about AMC to 500K, which I mean, we're partially less than 1% of the way there, so let's just keep that train going, I suppose. BlackBerry also closing up 2% on Friday to $14. Will the meme train keep on going? We'll have to watch this week to find out and see. But Chia is no longer going to be watched and seen on your desktop setup. No, my friends. If you're going to be plotting Chia, you might want to think about doing it with a cloud solution. With Backblaze announcing their Chia plot storage service, where they will allow you to store up to 1 terabyte of plot for $5 a month. And if you don't necessarily have all of the storage space that you need in order to do all of the plotting, this might be a legitimate cloud plotting alternative. Cloud mining usually is a scam. This one doesn't seem like it. Backblaze is a well-known company that does data backups, data recovery, restores all of your files for you if you happen to have an outage. We've been sponsored by them at some point in the past, so it's intriguing to see them getting in on the Chia craze. Elon Musk, however, getting in on the gaming craze. It's about time. The Model S got its delivery event last week on June 10th, and it was a delivery event where they delivered the first 25 cars, didn't mention when everybody else was getting theirs, and just said all of the same things that we already knew about the thing because they talked about it all the way back in January. Anyways, the big thing coming out about this is them showing off the gaming system that's inside with the PS5 level performance. They showed it off playing the best game that they possibly could have used as a demo, Cyberpunk 2077, which you can't even buy in the PlayStation Store right now, so good job. And then I just want to take a moment to talk about this monstrosity, the Tesla controller. What is that? Who makes things like, why? It's clearly modeled after the DualSense controller. It has this garbage plastic aesthetic. It has this weird boomerang door handle shaped thing, I guess to like slot it into the door thing so it doesn't fall out. This is a ergonomic piece of crap. Oh my gosh. Having the symmetrical joysticks is already bad enough, but then having that little divot groove, I mean, they're making the yoke steering wheel. Is that what it's supposed to resemble? I guess. Good job, Tesla, at making things worse when they don't need to be, or making things more complicated when they were working just fine before. You didn't have to reinvent the wheel, but you did anyways. But now let's get into the E3 updates that happened over the weekend, with E3 just having major announcement after major announcement. The one that came out before E3 was the Elden Ring update, with it being announced that it's going to come out January 21st, 2022. Big Dark Souls is here and should be coming out, and we have, like, it's been forever since we got a trailer, but now it's becoming upon us. Bethesda also showing off Starfield, which is its next anticipated title, coming out 11 years after Skyrim. It's coming out November 11th, 2022. You still have to wait an entire year plus in order to play this, but on the 11th anniversary of when Skyrim came out. And then if the Elder Scrolls 6 keeps to this timeline, we'll see that on 11/11/2033. Good job, Bethesda. You've got me very excited. I think after the debacle of Fallout 76 and kind of the underwhelming thing of Fallout 4, I'm not expecting too much out of Starfield. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. But Microsoft also showing off that they have the Xbox Series X mini fridge coming out this holiday season. They're actually making a mini fridge for retail. My guess is this is probably going to come in the $200 to $300 price point. I'm mildly excited for it. Square Enix showing off that it's going to have a Guardians of the Galaxy game, which after how Avengers turned out, I'm not so excited for this one. However, this is a single player experience, whereas Avengers was multiplayer, and we'll just have to see if it's any good, but it's coming out this coming October. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 are getting remastered in their pixel format, and they're coming out on Steam and mobile. However, no consoles are getting these games, but finally a faithful remaster of the originals, which a lot of people are very much excited for. Also being announced with the most chaotic trailer you've ever seen in your life, the Team Ninja Final Fantasy game, Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, being announced. It currently has a demo live over on PlayStation 5 in case you want to check that out, and it's coming in 2022. Hades, which is probably my favorite game of 2020, is coming out to Xbox and PlayStation on August 13th. Back 4 Blood, which is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, made by a studio who has a lot of the people who were on the original teams, coming out October 12th with day one availability on Xbox Game Pass on the console as well as PC. We also got an announcement that on July 9th, WitcherCon is going to be happening, where we're expecting a season 2 trailer of The Witcher, potentially some news on the development of the anime series, and the hopeful rumor out there is that we might see some news about the upcoming 4th game in the Witcher series, which we'll have to see if that happens in a month or so. Stalker 2 also getting a trailer and a release date of April 28th in 2022. I know a lot of people are very fond of the original game. Reece seems to be hyped for this second one. Let me know if you're excited for Stalker down below in the comments. And it seems like Ubisoft is very much excited to be on the Stadia train, with a large portion of the games that they announced during their E3 stuff are coming to Google Stadia. It's happening. You got Rainbow Six Extraction, Riders Republic, Far Cry 6, Just Dance 2022, and Avatar Frontiers of Pandora all coming out to Stadia, which I just have to ask, how much did Google pay Ubisoft? Because a lot of people might be saying, hey, this is an indication of Stadia doing well. It's got all these games coming out to them. Look at how excited game developers and publishers are to partner with Stadia, where in reality, it's the exact opposite. Google is paying them a large chunk of cash in order to keep this going. How much was it? And will the service die before we see the last game on this list come out, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora? I'm this close to betting that it might not be around. Let me know what you think of Stadia's future hope down below in the comments. And it looks like AMD's future is going to be very good, with both Ryzen 7000 and RX 7000 series stuff slated to launch in the same month of 2022. You can check out the one episode of Hot News that we did last week discussing that, and I will see you in tomorrow's episodes, friends. Cheers.